Hello everyone, welcome to Candid Conversations with Candy Karaoke. It's always a joy to have you guys in this space, and it gives me a lot of fulfillment and satisfaction to get to share stories and amazing testimonies of how God has been faithful through my life and the lives of other people around me. And I am so excited to have you on board today. And today I would like to speak about a topic I'm very passionate about, and it's my hope and desire that this will be a blessing to you. So I'd like to speak about motherhood and how my journey has been like as a mother. It has been an intense process, and to be honest, motherhood is the most amazing gift or thing that has ever happened to me. I always get a lot of joy and satisfaction being a mother to someone, and I have loved kids all my life. I mean, for the longest time through my life, I have loved kids. I remember before I got my own kids, I used to bring in my friends' kids, my nieces and nephews, and I would bring them into my house and just spend time with them, take them out, spend time with them, teach them the word of God, sing and dance and just be with them. And this gives me a lot of joy. No wonder Jesus said that, let the little children come to me. So I know indeed even Jesus loved children. So no wonder I also love children. So so you can imagine how much I was excited when it was time to have my own children, and something that I was waiting for, and it was finally here. I am a strong advocate of getting children when you are prepared, not only financially but also psychologically, because if you are not prepared, you will not enjoy the experience of motherhood. So for me, as I mentioned earlier, multitasking is not one of my strengths. So I first of all had to go through my education all the way to the level I felt at least I was somewhere I wanted, and I was in a stable job. I had figured out my career path. I had traveled, I had had fun. I had enjoyed my space fully before I became a mother. My first pregnancy was the easiest of them all. I remember I had a very easy time. No morning sicknesses, no fatigue, no nausea, no all these manner of things that I had heard people talk about when they are expecting a baby. So for me, it was a walk in the park. And so at some point I was just asking myself, what do people really talk about that when you're pregnant, you go through a lot of challenges here and there. To be honest, for me, the journey was seamless. I carried my baby to term, and I was active all throughout. So I never missed work. I never had nasty experiences of during the first trimester or during the first pregnancy. And it was a good place to start from, because it formed a perception of it is easy to do it. It's easy to have children, and God was faithful through the journey. And I remember I carried my baby to term until I was 40 weeks, and I knew that I would get my baby through VBirth, and I was psychologically prepared for it. I had prayed about it together with my husband, and when I clocked 40 weeks, there was no signs of labor whatsoever. And when we talked to our gynecologist, he advised us to wait for more days, and 5 days were gone and no signs of labor at all. And he advised that I need to be checked into hospital and get induced, so that at least we prompt the process of labor. So I got admitted, I was induced, and The first induction, nothing happened. I waited for hours and nothing happened. Then again, when the doctor came to check on me, he said that I get induced again. And this time around, also nothing was happening. There was no labor at all, so I had to do another scan to see what was happening and whether the baby was okay. So when we did the scan, we came to discover that our baby's cord had gone around the neck. And all this time we were doing induction. We didn't know about it because we had done a scan before we got admitted in hospital, and the baby was good, and there were no signs of danger at all. So by having those failed inductions, I think it was a way of God just helping our baby not to get choked in the process. So things were working for our good. So we had, at this point, we didn't have any other option. We went through a C-section, and I was checked in into the theater, and our baby came well. And yeah, I spent time looking at the little one. We were so excited. I remember we were with my husband just looking at the little fingers, the little toes, small eyes of our baby, and we were so excited to be parents. So we were discharged and we went home. I remember we were so excited to go home, and all that was going through my mind was, I just can't wait to go home and get to bond with my baby, to cuddle him, to just hold him and to see the little face and all that the world had in store for me as a mother. So when we got home the first night, we were interrupted through the night, and I remember we were used to just sleeping through the night. This was the first time that we had an experience of waking up and sleeping again, because we had a little one in the house. We kept changing diapers. We were excited. Of course, as first-time parents, you don't want to go wrong in any way. You don't want to, any minute that the baby poops, you want to change the poop immediately. So we were excited. I think the first night we didn't sleep. We were really excited about it. And Christian basically was a very calm baby. He gave us an easy time. We didn't have any itches. I remember the only nasty experience I had when the first few days of motherhood was I had cracked nipples, and they were very painful. At some point they were bleeding. And I remember I was just so afraid of breastfeeding him. Anytime I would remember the wounds on my nipples, I just dreaded to hear him wake up, and it was painful. It was really painful. And I think I'd not had anyone talk about it before, so I was not really prepared for it. But I thank God because I had the right support system, and I was able to heal through the process. I was able to heal the wounds. I was able to heal the CS wound, and I bond with my son. Another challenge that I encountered when I was a new mom was being indoors. I'm this person who doesn't like just being indoors, and when I had this little baby, I had to remain indoors for quite a long time. I remember at some point I used to tell my hubby to just drive us off, and we get to see a new environment of not being in the house. And I didn't have a reliable nanny at that point that I could leave my baby with. So I had to stick around him almost better part of these first few weeks. And you know, when I was reflecting about it, and I was like, no one tells you about these small things that you encounter. You only are told about how you're gonna love motherhood, how you're gonna, you know, enjoy every stage all the way. And you don't have a picture of what really to expect until you're in those shoes. When our firstborn was 1 year, 7 months, we discovered that we were expecting our secondborn. And I remember this caught us by surprise. I was not expecting to get another baby too soon. I felt that I needed more time to heal. I needed more time to, you know, recollect myself and to adopt to motherhood. And for me, this came as a shocker. I remember I cried for days when I found out that I was expecting another baby. I felt like our baby would not get enough attention, and it was still small. And but after some time, I just recall that before we got married, by the way, we talked about the number of kids that we wanted to have, and I remember we had said that we want 3 kids, and we were very specific on even the spacing. So we were like, we want 3 kids at a spacing of 2 years apart, you see. So, and to just check through, I was like, okay, God had this prayer, because this baby would come when this other one was around 2 years and 5 months or so. So I also had an easy time through Carson's pregnancy, though it was a little bit more, tiring. And of course, the more I hear, the more you keep getting kids, the more the journey might graduate to getting more, difficult. Even the years are progressing on. And unlike Kristan's experience, which was just seamless, for Carson, I was getting tired of on and off. And I remember I conceived Carson when I was going through the toughest season of my life, when I had lost my job. And I remember I felt lost. I didn't really receive the news of this baby coming in as well as I received the news of the firstborn, because of what I was going through, so much adjustments that needed to be done and all that. But by God's grace, I carried him to term. And on this instance, I knew that I would go through a CS. And so when he was around 38, 39 weeks, we went for the C-section, and we delivered our second born, who was also a baby boy. When I conceived our second born, I was going through the toughest season of my life, and it's when I had lost my job, and I was still finding myself. I was still adjusting to the new life of, of being without a job, and there was so much adjustments that were to be made. And I also wanted to go back to school to pursue my PhD. And I remember when I was 35 weeks pregnant, I told my husband that I really wanted to go back to school and pursue my PhD. And I remember, of course, he received this as the biggest joke he's ever heard of, but I insisted. And my husband was like, if this is what makes you happy and you feel this is the right time for you to do it, then you have my full support. And my husband is this kind of a person who will always let you, especially then that he knew that I was going through much. He was like, if this is what will make you heal and, recollect your life together, then I'm going to support you, baby. So I enrolled for PhD. I was 35 weeks pregnant, and I was really, really tired at that point. And I was very optimistic at the same time that I'm going to juggle in. I have 2 small babies. Okay, I have a small baby. I am expecting another baby, and I wanted to enroll for the PhD. To be honest, when I think about it, I know clearly I was not in the will of God. I was just trying to force things to fall in place because of where I was psychologically. I wanted to find myself back. I wanted to get another job. And I knew that at this time, maybe for me to get another job as a lecturer, they would ask whether I have enrolled myself for a PhD program. So I really wanted to get these things done at whichever cost. I was so impatient. I didn't want to wait. I felt that was the right time for me to do it. And my husband let me do it for sure. And I enrolled. and I started off the journey. So he let me enroll for the program, and to be very honest, deep within I was feeling I had not sought the will of God on the matter. I was just forcing things to fall in place the way I wanted. I was leaning on my own understanding. I was not in God's program. I was forcing things. So to confirm this, when the baby checked in at 39 weeks, I had to defer my studies, and there's no way I would manage to juggle in between having a firstborn who is 2 years old and a newborn, and at the same time I'm doing my studies. And Carson's arrival literally took a toll on me, and he was such a cry baby. He cried from the very first minute that he was born, and he had to announce to everyone in hospital that he had arrived. So the nurses were there trying to help me to latch him to see whether when he breastfeeds he will calm down, but nothing would calm Carson down. And I remember that first night I didn't sleep. So the following night, my husband had to come and spend in hospital so that he can help me take care of our little baby. So from there on until we were discharged, we used to spend nights with our crying baby, trying to calm him down. And we tried to find out what could be the issue. He was checked out and nothing was wrong with him. And through the months, we came to realize that it was more of a personality issue. Carson is so expressive. He'll talk about anything. He will not be calmed down by anything. He's so expressive. So when we went home, this was still the norm. He used to cry and cry. He's not wet, he's not angry, he's not feeling cold. He's not sick, he's just okay, but he's just crying. And I remember at some point I had to take antidepressants, and this is the only way that I could get sleep. My husband came in handy to help me. I don't know how I would have managed this on my own, but at this point it made more sense why forcing things would not really work for me. So I was trying to imagine if I was still doing this and juggling it together with studies, it would have taken a toll on me. So at some point I was almost getting into postpartum depression. It is by God's grace that I did not really slide in there, but the journey was really rough for me. I remember he used to prefer sleeping on my laps. Anytime I just placed him on his cot, he wouldn't sleep for more than 5 minutes. He starts crying again. So when I'm left with him and the brother at home, and I have no one else in the house to help me, I could literally not have time to eat, at some time not even have time to shower. I remember at some point we were really struggling with nannies in and out, changing them from time to time. And my husband would come from work and just find me crying together with my 2 babies, and he would wonder where would he start from, because all of us are crying. I was really feeling overwhelmed by the whole experience, and I was just thinking to myself, did I really hear from God that He really intended me to be a mom? I didn't know this is how things would turn out to be. I didn't know it could be a rough patch. I don't know the challenges that would come along with it. I just thought it's a walk in the park. When someone is just a single person before you get kids, you think about kids just being pretty, amazing, and beautiful, but you don't get to see the other sides of the challenges that come along with being a mother and the adjustments that you have to do to your life so that you're able to accommodate the little ones who come in your life. So at this point, I'm still juggling between, taking care of the firstborn, who was 2 then, and Carson is here, who was very demanding also. So, and I'm here experiencing the challenges of having a nanny that would stay and help me through the season. And I tried to reflect that, all things work out for good to those who love God, really, because I don't know how I would have managed if I was in a full-time employment in that very season of my life. And I started reflecting about it, and it made more sense to me that, could be this particular season was just meant to be like that so that I'm able to concentrate on my children, raise them at the very foundational years of their life when they needed me most. And there is no other person that would fit into my shoes. So that is why it's always good for you to release yourself in the will of God, because his ways are higher than our ways. His plans are better than our own plans. We might make our own plans, but it's God that establishes them according to his will. So we desired to have 3 babies, and we wanted to have them in the intervals of 2 years and exactly the same age gap with Chris and Carson. I realized again I'm expecting our third born. The thought of having a baby was the last thing I was expecting at this point. I was like, there is no way God would allow me to have another baby at this point in time, and he knows what I have gone through. And I didn't even want to do the pregnancy test. The moment I realized that I missed my periods, I was like, I don't want to do another pregnancy test. This cannot be a baby, I cannot be pregnant. I struggled with the thought and the idea of doing a pregnancy test, but I remembered that I had desired to have a girl. And one time when I was praying about my children and the children that would come, I told God that any time that you feel is the right time for me to have a baby girl, if anytime, make it happen. I remember that time Carson was 1 year old. We just celebrated his first birthday, and my thoughts were just wandering, and I made this prayer and told God, anytime you are ready for me to get a girl, then I'm ready. So with this thought coming to my mind, I was like, God, I'm grateful because I know the time for me to get my baby girl is here. Because I remember the first time I knew my firstborn child would be a girl, and I remember I had even bought clothes for a girl, I'd bought shoes, and I was expecting a baby girl, only to find out that we got a baby boy. So when I started telling myself from the onset, when we did the pregnancy test and we found out that we were expecting a baby, I started saying that this is a baby girl I'm carrying. But all this time, I'm still not really comfortable with the idea that this just happened, because when I prayed that prayer of any time that God finds it the right time, the ideal time for us to get another baby, we get a baby girl. And I remember I also did some research online, Dr. Google, and I found out that there's a way that you can predetermine the sex of your baby. And I was like, now I've conceived and I had no time to apply what I had researched. I was like, I had seen that looking through the Chinese calendar, eating some meals or diets, and when I came later to share with my gynecologist, he told me that that's all fallacies. I mean, it's not real. There's no way someone can determine the gender of the child they can get. It's only God who is able to do so. The only different experience I had with our thirdborn, the pregnancy of our thirdborn, was I used to be very fatigued. I remember from week 30 onwards, I could hardly sleep. I used to dread seasons of the night because I didn't have the right posture to sleep. I used to be sleepless through the night. And when we got to the 36th week, I told my husband one night, I was really, really overwhelmed. I was just telling him, we just need to go to hospital and deliver this baby. And it was a tiresome journey, especially on the third trimester. So along the journey of our pregnancy, we did a gender ultrasound just to find out the gender of our baby. I remember I didn't want to find out at that point until towards the very end. So when we did the gender reveal with our family and friends, I was very excited to find out that we were expecting our baby girl. And at 39 weeks, we received our baby girl, and I was so grateful. I was so excited. We were very excited for the very first time to get hold of a baby girl. We used to have experiences with boys, and I remember the daddy was really, really excited from the first day. Kayla came in with some level of healing and restoration in our lives. I remember the first weeks of her arrival, it was a bit more easier for me. I think I had matured more. I had known how to handle pressure. I had known how to persevere and to multitask and to deal with my babies. And God had graced me the more. So the journey was smooth, and God blessed us with a nanny who I'm forever grateful to God for. She came in at a time I really needed her help, and she has always been a blessing to us to date. And I remember I never struggled with nannies when Kayla was young, and I was able to balance in between because I had now 3 babies who are under 5 years. The first days I used to breastfeed both Kayla and Carson at the same time. Carson had stopped breastfeeding at 1, and when he was around 1 year, 9 months. But when the sister was born, he came back like he had never left. I mean, I think he was just feeling insecure that his space has been invaded into. So I breastfed them together for like 2 or 3 months, and then Carson stopped breastfeeding. So at this point, I had suspended every other thing, and I decided to fully focus on raising our little children. And I realized that anything else can be taken back, but I can't really take back the years where my children need me most, when they are young, at the foundational years of their life. And I decided to devote myself to take care of them. And it was a worthy sacrifice. I stepped out of school for some time. I stopped looking for, jobs. I decided to just do things that will allow me to work remotely in the house and at the same time take care of our little ones. And I can tell you the truth, this is the best sacrifice I've ever made in my life. It is indeed fulfilling, it is rewarding, and I have learned so many lessons through the journey of motherhood. I have loved more. I have known how to, sacrifice. Children are truly a blessing, and I am really, really grateful to God for entrusting me with opportunity of being a mom to my babies. I cannot trade this gift with any other thing. I am so happy and fulfilled when I see them grow from when they are, the first day of their lives, when they are very little and helpless, and you watch them grow to a level they can walk and talk and eat on their own and become independent, and to a level where my firstborn son is, where he can even, correct me that, Mom, this is supposed to be pronounced like this. He can pray for us when we are going to work, and it's really amazing and fulfilling. And I'd like to appreciate all the mothers out there that are doing this incredible job of being mothers to their children. This is the greatest level of love. I mean, there's so much that happens in this space. It's full of joy, it's full of laughter, it's full of tears, and learning and relearning, and it's really fulfilling and amazing to be a mother, to raise someone to the level where God intended them to be. So to all the mothers out there, you are priceless, you are irreplaceable. And congratulations for the great work that you're doing of raising your little ones and molding them and, standing in their lives and standing in the gap and co-working with God to make them who God intended them to be. So once again, thank you so much for following through the conversation, and it's my hope and desire that this has been a blessing to you, and just to ensure that you don't miss any of these amazing episodes, please make sure that you subscribe, you leave a comment down there. This means the world to me. I really appreciate, and may the Lord bless you. Bye-bye.